The Congressional Budget Office is warning that Congress and the White House must get serious about the national debt or risk putting the nation into a major financial crisis. The federal budget deficit will reach nearly $2 trillion this year, which is the third largest in U.S. history behind pandemic-era relief spending, and this is actually 27% higher than what the forecast was predicting in February. This projected deficit increase was tied to student debt cancellation, bank failure bailouts, and of course funding for foreign aid, and the annual deficit is expected to keep growing. The national debt as related to the size of GDP is also growing. As it stands, we're now at 99%, which is essentially that the national debt is the same size as the US economy. And interest on that debt will exceed spending on defense this fiscal year. Debt held by the public is also projected to rise from around $28.2 trillion this year to more than $50 trillion over the next decade. Now, bond investors are growing very fearful about the impact that the astronomical debt is having on the Treasuries market. JP Morgan analysts called it the most predictable crisis in history. You see, in order to keep financing massive debt, newly issued bond yields would need to increase. The problem with this is that an increase in bond yields makes borrowing more expensive, and it also dramatically decreases the value of previously issued bonds, which carry a lower yield. So this can lead to a market instability and reduce the overall return on investments. The need for much higher interest rates to sell bonds can trigger what's called a debt doom loop. Essentially, investors fearful that the U.S. may default would require higher and higher interest rates to continue lending to the government, which would then increase the government's cost to service that debt, and this then results in the need to borrow more money at higher and higher rates to cover the previous costs, and the trend continues into an inescapable loop. You see, if the U.S. tries to rely on money printing as well to inflate away the unpayable debt, investors are likely to abandon the process entirely, bonds would become worthless, and the dollar would as well, and this cycle, unable to continue, creates a major financial crisis. And the CBO also found that debt will slow the growth of American household income and economic growth as well. You see, the government sells bonds to borrow money. Investors choose the bonds over the more productive private sector investments that would actually stimulate the economy. This results in less investment in the private economy, and consequently wage and income growth slows way down for the average American and also increases expenses, borrowing costs, and the debt burden. And so if Congress and the White House don't act now, the problem will only continue to grow exponentially worse, requiring stricter solutions the later it's addressed. However, a highly divided government seems unlikely to make the compromises necessary to curb that debt. Left unchecked, the debt will erase the value of the dollar. And so if you're concerned about the current direction of the economy, the debt, the dollar, I'm Mackay Block with American Hartford Gold. Give us a call today, and we'll discuss how adding physical precious metals into your portfolio can actually give you the hedge that you need.
Discover how gold can help you protect yourself and your family. Call today or visit our website for more information at AmericanHartfordGold.com.